afternoon. Well, I'm ready to do another project. What I'm wanting to do today is a Christmas ornament. I see several people online on YouTube doing them, and I've never done one, so I want to try my hand at it. It looks, I mean, there's a lot of skills involved with this, so basically hauling a very small vessel, making a finial, making the top, the finish work. But one thing I'm going to try to do too is color it. It's Christmas time, or pretty close to Christmas time, and I like red and green around Christmas because I love Christmas time. I always have since I was a little kid. But we're going to get started on this. I got a couple nice pieces of maple. We're gonna chunk up, and we're gonna turn them and see what we'll get out of them. Let's get started. Well, to start out with, I've got me three blanks of maple. I've already marked the centers, and I've drilled this out for my spur. So this one is about 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, something like that. 1.5 inches, 1 3/4. This is going to be my globe section, and this will be my finial on the bottom. This will end up being the finial on the top. They all came out of the same piece of wood. So anyway, one thing here, a lot of people will want to use the same piece of spindle stock to do the finial and the top. Well, I just didn't have a piece long enough. That's the only reason I didn't do that. So we're going to get started here, and I'm going to start on the globe section first. First of all, I'm going to turn all 3 spindles down and go ahead and get a chuck on them for my pin jaws. Go ahead and get a tenon on them for my spigot jaws, or pin jaws. So, alright, safety glasses on, piece is good and safe to turn. Alright, get this grounded down. Okay, just to kind of give you an idea of what I've done, I've got all my pieces basically roughed down to cylindrical. Okay, so I've cut a tenon for my pin jaws right here. You can see it, but I've also cut a shoulder here. I took my tenon a little bit smaller, I guess, than what I had to. The ideal would be to size it up bigger than this. I'm coming through here with a 3/4 Forstner bit, and I'm going to be traveling all the way to the bottom of this blank right here. So so I left that shoulder there to give strength to the blank, but also so I know I can't get into my jaws with my Forstner bit. Bad juju. Okay, well, I'll get started drilling this hole, and we'll get busy on this ornament. Okay, I'm just going to take my little Forstner bit. It's a 3/4, and the reason I'm using a 3/4 is because my cutter that I'm going to be coming in here to hollow with is I think it's 12 millimeter or something like that. It's a little bit smaller than a 3/4, so I'll be able to get in here. But I just match this flat edge down here just barely past the edge of my blank and mark it. Right. Mount it back in the chuck, the Jacobs chuck. That's probably one of the best investments I ever made for my lathe was this Jacobs chuck here. I use it all the time for boring and stuff. All right, let me get my speed turned down a little bit here. tend to want to clog up and overheat a little bit. And you want to keep these shavings cleared out. Almost there. Okay. Alright, I should be at the bottom of the globe now. I'm at the bottom of the globe now. So, now I get to the fun part. Start turning this thing. Okay. Well, now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start shaping this thing. I've actually turned it down a little further with my roughing gouge to try to get past this crack that's in it. You can see right here. Well, I think I'm down far enough. I believe my curve will take that out. But if it doesn't, I'll just end up making it a little bit smaller diameter. The great thing about wood turning is you can do whatever you want to do. There's no absolute set rules on how you can design something. But what I'm looking for, instead of being a round globe, a perfectly round globe, I'm going to make it a little bit wider at the top, coming down more into kind of a conical type shape. It'll come down a little bit on this side and sort of around this way on this side. So we'll see. I want to break it maybe in about, there's 1/3, there's 2/3. I'll do it right about there. That should be about the top of my crest. Alright, let's give it a shot. Just going to lay this over and start rolling this edge over. Until I get a nice rounded over shape that I like. Okay, I've got the final shape that I'm looking for. You know, kind of rounded and rounded large over here, and or larger radius on the bottom and a smaller radius on the top. I kind of like that myself. Now I'm just going to start kind of hollowing it out. The tool that I'm using is this carbide cutter on just a homemade bar, a 3/8 bar, and I'm just going to hollow this out. I'm getting there pretty good. Yeah, got to go a little bit deeper. But I'll be back as soon as this is hollowed, and we'll continue on. I want to color these things. Okay, well, I've got it hollowed out now. It's about a 1/16 to yeah, it's about a 1/16 inch thick now all the way. In case you're wondering why this hole doesn't look like a 3/4 inch hole, the wood decided it wanted to be a little bit bigger. So you know, we have to go with what the wood decides. But anyway, no, I had a little bit of tear out right here. I had a catch inside, and my tool kind of chewed the edge up, so I made the hole a little bit bigger. And the finial will cover that anyway, so I'm not sweating it. Not sweating it that much. Just thought you may want to see that, because it can happen as you're getting right along under this little lip right in here. It's really tight, and the tool's very close to that edge. Well, that tool has got was made from square bar, so it touched it and did all that. But anyway, I'm ready to sand up now. I'm gonna sand down to about 220 to begin with, and then I'll come back with some 400 a little bit later. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the sanding, and all it is, I'm gonna start about 150 on this. It's pretty good. If you got a power sander or something you think you may need it, use it. I've got one, but I don't think I'm gonna need it on this. Anyway, I'll just hit each grit, go through and sand everything up really good. And then we're going to turn this thing green. Let's go through, go back with the grain, always go back with the grain. So make sure you get everything cleaned up good. And I'll be back in a few minutes once I get done with all the sanding, and we'll start to color this thing. Okay, one thing I'm going to do, I've sanded to 220 now, is now I'm going to hit it with 320, but I'm going to kind of water sand a little bit. I'm just going to kind of water sand this little bit. One thing that'll do, it'll raise the grain. That way, I get it as smooth as I can. But yeah, it'll raise the grain and allow you to get in there and really get that smooth. Okay. Now, that'll get her good and smooth. You go back and, of course, sand with the grain. Keep everything. I really like doing the wet sanding, because it really makes everything smooth. Okay, now I'm ready to dye this thing. Now what I want to do is I believe I'm going to dye the globe green, and I'm going to do the top and the finial, I'm going to do them in red, and just see what it looks like. I've never tried to dye one of these things before, but we're just going to see what it looks like. Let me get all that stuff out, and I'll be back when I'm ready to start. Okay, well, the dye that I'm using is just a water-based dye. You can find it just about anywhere. I think you can get it at Home Depot or whatever, but a lot of people use alcohol dyes, and I would love to have some. I just don't have any on hand right now. I actually prefer it to this myself, but this is what I have at the moment, so this is what I'm going to use. But anyway, I'll just take a brush it on, kind of in circles type deal. I put a piece of paper towel down on my lathe bed, so if any drops down, it'll soak up most of it. But I'm not looking for a very dark green finish. I just want kind of a green tint on this. The good thing I like about doing this is the wood grain and all still shows through. But what you end up with is just a tinted look. It's kind of a tinted color. And of course, as many coats as you want to put on there, you can put on, and it will it'll just get darker and darker to where I guess it would almost look like paint if you went far enough. And then when I get this done and it's dry, I'm going to put a super glue coat over it using the water thin super glue, or using very thin super glue. And what that'll do is that'll kind of go in there and sort of seal it up good, and then I'm going to finish it with a friction polish that I made, that I saw online, and I'm going to see how that does. It'll be the first time I've really tried to use it, so anyway, we'll see. I'm just trying to smooth this out a little bit. This is about all I'm going to do on this one. I may make the finials a little bit darker or something like that, but on the globe, this is about as far as I'm going to take it. Is this right here. Just try to get down around in there so I don't have white spots showing around my finials. And okay, I've got the top. Everything's good. So I'll let that sit for just a minute. We got some dye up in the lid there, and dry, and then I'll come back and I'll wipe it with a paper towel. But now these water-based dyes, there's nothing wrong with them. You have to let them dry a little bit, you know, before you use them. But really, other than that, now I'll come back and I'll just kind of blend it all, you know, together sort of with a paper towel. And it really makes it look nice. Now with the other dyes, the alcohol dyes, if you put another coat on there, you know, of course it reactivates it just like the water does too. So you can blend the next coat into this coat and everything else. I'm thinking that's looking fairly nice myself. Just kind of blend it. I'm rubbing it sort of with the grain. That crack I didn't get rid of, but it'll be alright for demonstration purposes. I would have liked to have actually got rid of that crack, but it's there. There's nothing I can do about it now. And the good thing is I water sanded. This thing is still just very, very smooth. Now I've got my hair dryer, you know, because I really need a hair dryer, like a hole in the head, but I'll finish drying it up with it. And then I'm going to try to run some super glue around it. And once I get a couple of coats of that and it dries up very good, then I'm gonna use my friction polish that I made. And it really makes Eric Anderson's stuff look good. I don't know if you've seen his page or not, but man, he does some beautiful work. And you know, I watched his video on how to make that friction polish, and you know, decided to make some of my own. I didn't have exactly the same ingredients that he did, but I'm pretty close. A couple of little light spots there. Just continuing on doing a little bit of blending. But I'm thinking this is going to look just fine. Alright, I'm going to give it just a minute. Okay, now I'm ready for the super glue. Most all my super glue comes from Penn State. They've got a very good glue. I really like it. Get my glasses on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a coat from here up and then from here back. Lay it on a slow speed. And I'm using the water thin. Water thin on that side. Okay. Now, so I didn't get a whole lot of, okay, I'm sorry about that. I actually ran out of memory card after that first coat. But anyway, the second coat, I used the medium. I used a medium thin, medium thickness. And what I call medium thickness is the water thin that's beginning to dry up. With super glue, you make one swipe and that's it. Don't go back and try to rub it or anything. Make one swipe or else you'll end up with streaks right there you can't get out. Bed of my lathe there. Let's go. And you'll just let it sit there and cure. Actually, this would have been 2 coats. I ended up sanding the second coat back off so I could show you. Next will be the friction polish. I'll kind of sand over this with maybe some 4/0 steel wool, and I really like that. That's super glue, boy. That's a pretty good finish. Now I could go on with it, but I want to try this friction polish and see how it's going to do. So you guys will get to see a first for me. I've never used the friction polishes before, but we'll see. I'm going to go get my steel wool and I'm going to let this set up and cure, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, well, my steel wool, I'm not going to use it with the lathe spinning. Don't use this stuff with your lathe spinning. But all I'm going to do is just kind of buff it a little bit. Kind of knock the sheen off of it. Or knock off some of the gloss. Because all I was using the super glue for was just to seal in the colors. That's all I was using it for. I don't care if it all comes off the surface. Now, I just want to see how this stuff wants to grab. It'll grab anything, and that, I don't know if that'll tear your fingers off or not, but I guarantee you it probably wouldn't be a very good thing. Alright, let's wipe that off. Try to blow it out. Get that dust off there while I'm doing it. Okay, well, this friction polish, like I said, Eric Anderson, he shows how to make this on his channel, and I decided to make some for myself. Recipe's just a little bit different. I used a different conditioner in the recipe, but I'm about to find out how this stuff does. Really, it's shellac with an oil wax finish for like food safe finishes, and a little bit of denatured alcohol to cut it, or to thin it up. Let's see what we got here. Let's see how this does. Take my speed up a little bit. Just come on a paper towel. Let's see what it does. They say you can feel the heat coming through your lathe. cures. It's really glossy. I'm hoping it stays like that. And you should be able to put these back on, you know, with just, I mean, that right there is already cured. That's pretty amazing. But I'm going to put a couple of coats on there, and we'll just see how good this stuff gets. I may even try to spin the lathe up a little faster. I've never really used a friction polish before. I know there are a lot of commercially available ones. But now, I don't know. I'm kind of liking the way this looks. And, you know, there's only a couple of ingredients that you have to buy. I think the shellac cost me $12. The conditioner was about $12, and all that. And I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this a lot. Now I'm going to try one more coat, although I think that's plenty good right there. But I'm going to rub this one on. I've seen people rub on the friction polishes and stuff. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm kind of experimenting right now. I do know that one coat needs to be cured before you put the next one on. I do know that, or it can reactivate the shellac in the coat below it. And it does get warm. Okay. Alright, let's see what we got. Man, I like that. That is awesome. I like Eric Anderson. If you see in this video, I really like your finish. You know, we'll see how durable it is a little bit later, but I really like what I've got so far. Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on this edge right here so I have something to glue my lid into, because I've got wax and stuff in there now. I'm just going to touch, just kind of scrape just a touch right inside this lip with my ball guide. Just so I know that I'll have a good glue surface for it. Okay, good. Good to go. I don't see any more of the wax. So I'm thinking that's going to be good to go. Now I'm going to part this off. I hope I got my hole deep enough with my Forstner bit. I'll find out here in a second. Let me move you out of the way so you can, maybe you can see what I'm doing, but I need to get this thing out of here. And I'm just going to try to do that with my skew. It shouldn't be that far away, but it could be. yeah, now parted off. Let me hang this over here somewhere it can continue to cure. Man, I like that. Isn't that pretty? That is pretty. All right, maybe the maybe the finials will go good too. All right, well, I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to start the finials, but I'm going to let this cure first. I'm going to have to actually use it to size the tenon on my finials. But I'll be back in a minute.